Hey, guess what? It's Monday night. Welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington, you guys. My name is Katherine Kaufman, and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome to my every Monday night show. I want to thank everybody for joining me today, and if you really get into the topic and the stuff that I'm going to present to you today, I want you to go ahead and hit that share button. Share this with as many people as you can. I've been holding back on this topic for tonight because it is so bizarre. You're not going to believe it. And I did want to study it just a little bit more before I presented it, just so that I was sure of, or I was confident in the information. So let me do some quick shout outs here. Hey to Kristen, Kyle, Kylie, Hope, Olivia, Lana, Paul, Paige, Melissa, and Tammy. Thanks for joining me, you guys, tonight. I was really hesitant, like I said, to present this information this evening because it's just going to kind of blow your minds. And when I first encountered it and when people started emailing me and telling me their experiences with this, I was really hesitant at first. But I just decided, you know what, life's short. I don't know when I'm going to be out of here, so I better go ahead and pass this information along to you so that you can protect yourself. Hey to Pamela, Hope, Jerry, and Shannon. Thanks for joining us this evening. Like I said, hit that share button and let people know about this broadcast because this is something that everybody needs to know about. I've got a lot of notes here. I'm hoping that we can cover at least half of it for this evening. If not, you know, rest assured I will present part number 2. So the first thing I want to introduce to you is the idea of multi, or extra-dimensional beings. And this has a direct relationship to hotel rooms. And a friend of mine, I was telling him about this, and he was the one that came up with the name The Body Buffet, which is so appropriate in this case. And I want to thank Big Mike Kelly for coming up with that, coined that term, because it really hit home with me. Hey to George McKinney, Alexandria, and Christina, and over here on Facebook, Diane, hey, how are you? Thanks for joining us this evening. If you can go ahead and share, go ahead. So these hotel room risks is what we're talking about. And these are intradimensional beings that are, for better lack of the term, they're feeding off of the people that stay in hotel rooms. And I'm going to explain why and how, and the reports that I've gotten from the people that have contacted me. So hey to Susan, Veronica, Trina, Donna, Debbie, James, thanks for joining us. If any of you guys tonight have had experiences like this, I want you to message me in my inbox on Facebook with your description, your experience, and what has happened. I'm presenting this to you after 8 reports of similar incidents with similar descriptions. And that was very concerning for me because these people are unrelated that have been presenting this information to me. Okay, so this is the description of humanoid type of beings or shapes. One person reported a black orb with tentacle type of arms. These humanoid shapes have no hair. The upper bodies are larger than the lower body. The unusual characteristics are extremely long arms. Now, the black orb that was described by the one person that messaged me said that the orb had tentacles. So I'm wondering now if the tentacles are equated to the long arms in the other people's descriptions. So, hey to Matt Cummings over here on Instagram, and let's see, Facebook ID Emerson over here on Instagram. Over here on Facebook, thanks to James for tuning in, Jay Ross, Lauren, and Stephanie. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I will try to catch them as soon as I can. The Facebook feed is just going so fast, it's hard to keep up with it. But I will try. For those of you that are on my professional page, if you want to join in the chat or you want to ask a question, you need to hit that link in the description and hop over here to the personal page, and I'll be glad to answer anything that you want to ask. So what these people are reporting, I'll go over a basic report, and then I want to go into how I think these things are finding or transferring to these hotel rooms. So they are the humanoid shapes, except for the one that was described as a black orb, and I'm going to show you a picture. Let's just go ahead and show you a picture of those. So this is similar to the descriptions. Very long arms, humanoid shape, nothing descript though, like no hair, nothing specific, just kind of a basic shape. Okay. These are just basic shapes. You know, I think that aliens are considered into this interdimensional category. Now, the one that described the orb with tentacles actually sent me a drawing of what she saw. And so this is the drawing of what that person saw. So she sent me this. I think it is just in accordance with how that person perceives the entity. So these people are encountering these beings, and we're going to go into a little bit more about what they exactly do. But I feel like from what people have described to me, these entities are like feeding off of the energy of the people in the hotel rooms. So hey to Mary, Stacy, Yasmin, special shout out to Yasmin, Chris, and Magrid, and thanks for joining us tonight. So the people will awaken to find this particular entity either hovering over them in the bed, or either they'll visualize the entity in the corner of the room. And most often the people will say that they visualize the entity coming out of the mirror. Now that is extremely important. In one particular case, the person recounted that they saw the entity crouching or kind of crawling towards the other person that they were staying with in the hotel room. And that this entity did crawl on top of the person who is in the other bed that they were sharing the room with. That's extremely disturbing. Now, most often people describe this to me as the color is yellow, green, or gray in color. And it seems like to me it's an energy attack or an energy consumption. So Margaret says, I see leftover stuff, memories, or activities that have happened and are all being replayed. So anything that you take in your life is a memory. It's an energetic storing of memory. And so the release of those memories may simply be that discharging of energy into the environment. Now, the beginning of the attack is usually a very disturbing dream that the person recounts. And that kind of initiates the person waking up and finding the entity in the hotel room. At the time that the person turns on the light, it obliterates the view of the entity, and they cannot view it any longer, and they feel that the entity is left at that point. So here's what's interesting, though. The next day when the person wakes up, they are relaying to me that upon waking, they're extremely drained, extremely sick, maybe have a migraine, or are in a lot of physical pain, which that's very significant because I feel like from the descriptions, these entities are feeding off of either frequency or energy. And so I feel like that these multi, extra dimensional beings are frequency beings. They may be light and frequency. And so I feel like that they may be attracted to high concentrations of light or vibrational energy. They may exist in a parallel universe. And so one person asked me today, as I was telling them about the show tonight and about the content, they said, well, you know, how and why are they attracted to specifically hotel rooms? And then it dawned on me later, it's kind of like, you know, when you put a bug zapper outside and then all of a sudden the bugs are just drawn to it and they get zapped. Without the zapping mechanism of this, I feel like the vibration and the high frequency, the amount of people that are in hotel rooms probably attracts, like a bug zapper, attracts this type of entity to these type of places because it is a high concentration of that type of energy. So I think that they're frequency beings or energy. They feed off of the energy of people, and that's kind of why we called it, Mike Kelly and Barbie Kelly called it the body buffet, because what a better place to find people or energies to feed off of. You have a constant renewal source available to you through these hotel rooms, because people come and go on a regular basis, and you have a constant influx of new, fresh energy, which, when you think about it, that's really horrible. Let me check for questions here and make sure. Hey to Mary. So Mary says she's been in several places where the room had spirits and entities in them, and they were not so great experiences. So Mary, message me with your particulars, and if you remember what any of those entities look like, I would love to see a sketch of that to compare it to the people that have already contacted me and sent me this kind of stuff. So hey to Dave, Angela, Linda, Amanda, and Tracy, Lisa, Linda, and let's see, Julie, Christina. Thanks for joining me. Yes, it is, Christina. It's very interesting, but it is also disturbing. And at the last part of the program, I want to go through things that you can do to prevent this, because, you know, there's times when you have to stay in a hotel and you can't help it. But so what are you going to do if you're at risk? So I did come up with some things to do, and we'll go over those at the last of the broadcast. So hey to Tamara over here on Instagram, Windecker Farms, and Mark James. Thanks for joining us this evening. So let's go over how do these things get to you in the hotel room. And when I started doing this research about mirrors, and this is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time, we all know in the paranormal arena that mirrors are portals for other dimensions, for ghosts, for spirits, for interdimensional beings, for extra dimensional beings, for multi-dimensional beings and parallel universes. Mirrors have been classically recounted as portals for these entities. But why? Why is what I wanted to know. Okay, this is going to blow your mind too. Now, when you stand in front of a mirror and you see the light energy is traveling at a speed of 186,000 miles per second. Now, when that light traveling at that speed hits the mirror, it has nowhere else to go. The energy is kind of absorbed by the mirror and translated back at you. Okay, so what exactly happens? It's not exactly a reflection, okay? And the light doesn't bounce off the mirror. What actually happens is the silver or aluminum or tin behind the mirror absorbs the photonic incoming light energy, and it excites the photonic particles, okay? But that excitement makes the photons unstable. So in order to become stable again, the photons have to give off this excess energy. Now they do that by putting the light back out to you in that reflection you think is a reflection, but it's really a different energy than the energy that actually hit the mirror, because you remember the original energy that hits the mirror is absorbed. It's then translated in the silver, tin, or aluminum of the mirror, and it's projected back at you. Now, so my theory is that the light or the frequency that's projected back out may be the essence of the entity who's using the mirror as an effective translator, okay? Or you might think of it this way, like in Star Trek, a transporter, okay? So mirrors don't bend light, they absorb it and translate it back at you, which is something a lot of people don't realize. The particular things that are used to make a mirror is, well, in the old days, they did use bronze to make mirrors. They also used liquefied tin, aluminum, or silver. Silver-backed mirrors are the most popular things that are used today. So, and then how they make the mirrors, they use they use glass, and then the liquefied tin, then they plate it with aluminum or silver, and then they put a backing of paint, a backing of copper, and then 2 more backings of paint. And the covering depends on if you're wanting a one-way mirror or a two-way mirror. So I think that mirrors are the key transport for these entities, or translator device for these entities to enter into the hotel room. Now, the interesting thing about this is, if you will note, in most hotel rooms, the mirror is directly at the foot of the bed. That's the perfect alignment for an entity to come out of and have a victim right there to feed off of. It doesn't have to go very far, because that mirror is right there in alignment with the bed. And so, hey to Samantha, Mort, and Mary, thanks for joining us, and to Beth and Declan. Again, if you guys have any questions, or you want to email me or message me with your experiences, go ahead and do that. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to compare your stuff to these 8 other people that have reported these incidents to me. Hey to Richard and Ina. So I feel like the mirrors are a translator or teleporter device for these parallel dimension beings. Now, one thing that was concerning about the mirrors is that when you look in a mirror, there's a shift from left to right. Okay. And it's also called laterally inverted or lateral inversion. So what that means is when you look into the mirror and you hold your right hand up in the mirror, it looks like it's your left hand. Okay. What the mirror is doing, I want you to think about the mechanism of how the mirror works. If the mirror is projecting back a different energy, it is going to translate it differently, which is this lateral inversion. I know this is complicated, but it's as if you turned around and were standing at the other end of the mirror looking back at yourself. If you consider it like that, that you are going into the mirror and you're turning around and looking back at yourself, the image makes perfect sense. Okay. So, and that's another way that you can kind of conceptualize that the energy coming back at you from the mirror is different than the energy that's going into the mirror. I know this is getting out there, but I had to present this to you because it is just so very bizarre, and I feel like that people need to know as much as possible about this. I want to get back to my notes on the attacks. Okay. So again, usually the beginning of the attack is a very disturbing dream that initiates the person to wake up in the first place. And then when they wake up, they see that whatever was in their dream is actually in the room. Now, whatever's in the room can either be crouching in the corner, it can be crawling up over a person that's in the room with them, or it can be hovering over the end of the bed where they're sleeping. Now, I did have a particular incident that happened to me. But first, let me present what Linda is saying. So she says mirrors on the walls that have the outside on the other side can be bad portals, especially in haunted locations. Absolutely, Linda. I 100% agree with that. Hey to Lisa and Mary, thanks for joining me. And a special shout out to Pam Branson and Sarah Lee and Barbara Stevens. Okay, so this is my particular incident that happened to me. And hey, over here on Instagram to Chris and Panther Snake and Alex Phillip. Thanks for joining us this evening. So my particular incident, and this happened to me before I started getting all the reports of this happening to other people. So what happened to me, David and I were staying in Louisville for an event. It was overnight. I did stay. It was like one of those 24-hour hotels, not a real nice one, just, get in, get out, go home. And again, the mirror was at the end of the bed. I did have a very, very disturbing dream about some kind of demonic entity that was attacking me. It was kind of the description of the first picture that I showed. Very long arms. It did come out of the mirror to me. I was able in my dream to fight it off, and I woke up, and as I woke up, I could see that David was having a really bad dream as well. So I woke him up, and I asked him, I said, what's going on with you? Are you okay? And he said, well, he was having a dream about the same description of entity, and that but it was on a different section of the room that he had his encounter with the same description of the entity that I had encountered. Now, I didn't visualize anything in the room with my eyes, but I did wake up the next morning feeling absolutely horrible, feeling totally drained. I did wake up in a lot of pain with a really bad headache, and I really didn't account it to much of anything except overwork. And so I just kind of dismissed it. But then after I started getting all these reports of the same thing, then I went back to think about that experience again, and I evaluated a little bit more, that it might have been these similar entities. Now let's talk about, what can you do so that you don't become a part of the body buffet, right? How can you prevent yourself from becoming a part of the body buffet? Well, for one thing, I don't stay in hotels anymore, I swear. Right now, I am totally into staying in Airbnbs. I've had really good experience with Airbnb, and so I don't stay in hotels anymore. But let's say you don't have a choice. Let's say you have to stay in a hotel. What can you do? So if I should have to stay in a hotel again, here's what I can tell you that I would do. I would suggest that you do this as well. Now, there are lots of like curtains that block light, and these are basically made for people who work night shift. And they put these light blocking curtains on the windows so that the people can get sleep. I would definitely take a light blocking cloth with me and place it over the mirrors at the end of the bed. So as I was thinking about this, I was like, well, we usually have that huge mirror that's over, the sink in the bathroom. What are you going to do about that? Because you can't be dragging around these big curtains everywhere with you. I would definitely use the light blocking cloth on the mirrors at the end of the bed. The mirrors that are in the bathroom are a different situation, because I don't think that you can effectively put one of these cloths over them, because those mirrors are usually real flush to the wall and there's nothing to hang on there, and that would be a real pain to try to navigate. So what I was thinking is, if these are light frequency entities, if you placed maybe a travel lantern at the middle of the mirror in the bath area, the light frequency waves would disrupt whatever's trying to come through the mirror. Also, I would use some solfeggio frequencies. Solfeggio frequencies restructure the molecules in the area. So I think anything that can be like a frequency disruptor that you can put into the environment would keep an entity from coming through this particular portal. So what I'll do is I will put a link to what solfeggio frequencies are in the comments section. So Samantha says, you can cover it, can't you? Yes, you can. Like, most of the mirrors at the end of the bed do have a frame, and they're very easy to cover. Now, you're going to have to cover it with something that blocks the light. Now, that can be either a solid black material, but like I said, some of the curtains, they're specifically made to block light. So those would be the best ones, I think, to use. I will put a link in the comment section on what solfeggio frequencies are and how you can use them. There are certain frequencies in these tones, these musical tones, that rearrange the molecular structure of things. And so I think anything that would rearrange the molecular structure would interrupt the frequency of whatever is trying to use the mirror as a portal. That's just my thought. And I will definitely, if I have to stay in another hotel, I will try this out. Hey, to Autumn Law. So Linda says, is there any way to close a portal that is inside a mirror? Yes, there are certain ways that are purported to close portals inside a mirror, Linda. But I feel like as long as the mirror is in existence, it can be used as a portal. You may be able to close a certain portal, but if the mirror is still in existence, it can still be used, in my opinion. So Beth said, maybe I missed it, but why just hotel mirrors? Beth, yeah, you might want to go back and watch the beginning of the show. It's because these particular parallel dimension entities are drawn to hotels because of the exacerbated amount of energy or frequency in one location that the people that are there staying put off. It's like a high concentration of frequency of light, and these things are drawn to hotels like moths are to a light. So Susan says, could using crystals and protective stones help in any way? Small stones would be less bulky. Yes, Susan, I think so. I haven't tested it yet. The reason why I think it would help is that quartz crystal in particular transfers ultraviolet and infrared light. And if these things are light frequency beings like I think they are, then you could program a quartz to trap that entity or to distract it from the source, which is you. It's definitely worth a try, and it's plausible. So I would definitely try it, but there's really, like, other than putting yourself at risk and seeing how you feel, seeing if anything like this happens, how are we going to test that scientifically? I'm not sure. So hey to Mary, and Mary says apophyllite grounding would help, or grinding. Yes, apophyllite and quartz crystal are the two main ones. Oh, apophyllite gritting. Those are the two main ones that I use for gridding, Mary, and I agree with you. You could definitely implore that to try and grid the hotel room and see if it works. Hey to Sarah Beth, and Mary says the pyramid points are small. Yes, an apophyllite they are. You can get a large apophyllite pyramid, but they can get a little expensive. So yes, I would say also using the solfeggio frequencies to disrupt whatever's trying to come through. You can also use magnets. Magnets will bend the electromagnetic field, and if you place those, specifically strong ones, in front of the mirror, they may distort the electromagnetic field enough to prevent something from coming through the mirror that may want to feed off of you. So Susan says, how to program a stone, instructions available. Yes, Susan, I will message you with instructions on how to program things. And if anybody else wants instructions on how to consecrate or how to program things, just message me here and I will PM you with the file on how to do that. Now, like I said, the other thing that you can do, which is what I'm doing right now, is just stay in an Airbnb. I had such a good experience with Airbnb, and I highly recommend them. Always check your references and check and make sure they have good reviews before you stay there. But I feel so much more comfortable at an Airbnb than a hotel. If I can stay at an Airbnb from now on, that's what I'm definitely going to do. And I want to thank you guys for joining me this evening. If you have any more questions about the body buffet, please message me, or if you just want to give and tell your experience with a hotel room and what happened to you, or even send me a sketch of what you might have seen. I really would love to know about more people that have had this experience, because I hesitated on bringing this to you guys until I had 8 accounts of almost the exact same thing, give or take 1 or 2 that the descriptions were just a tiny bit off. But that could just be perception of the frequency or of that parallel dimensional being. So if you enjoy these Monday Night Live episodes, hit that share button. If you want to see past episodes of Monday Night Live, I'll put the YouTube link in the comments section. You can go back and watch any of the past episodes that you want. There's a lot of good shows on there. And if you want to see more of my content on Facebook, hit see first on those notifications, and you'll never miss a show. You'll never miss out on a giveaway, and you'll always be up to date on everything that we're doing. So now let's find out what's for dinner, David.
Hello. You want to go on a date?
Yeah, I want to go on a date.
Let's go somewhere quiet and stuff manchego inside of us and wrap ourselves up in prosciutto and get in the oven, baby.
Oh, so we've been experimenting lately with having tapa for dinner instead of having a big dinner, because I'm trying to lose weight and all. We've been fixing little tapa dinners, and so I did like a tapas dinner of stuffed mushrooms and different cheeses. And so we've just been experimenting with that. Tonight we're going to have stuffed dates with manchego cheese wrapped in prosciutto and grilled. So wish you guys were here. But until next Monday night, kisses from Kentucky, and I will see you guys next Monday for another episode. Bye, guys.